To come and spend an afternoon, sun-kissed Melbourne, the glorious Albert Park, and 20 cars racing around this wonderful circuit. Welcome to the Australian Grand Prix. We're a stone's throw from the enormous Port Phillip Bay for today's race at the 3.28-mile Albert Park circuit. It's a bumpy racing surface here, and the 14 corners could prove especially difficult in the wet conditions. So watch out for a safety car at some point during this Grand Prix. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Hamilton, Piastri, Lando Norris, and Antonelli, Tsunoda, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, and Lance Stroll, Sainz, Hadjar, Alex Albon, and Lawson, Hülkenberg, Ocon, Ollie Behrman, and Pierre Gasly. Doohan and Gabriel Bortoleto rounds off the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Alongside me here in the commentary box today, former racing driver extraordinaire Naomi Schiff. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, every driver certainly has their own way of preparing themselves before a race. But I can tell you that pre-race rituals are a real thing. When I was in go-karting, I used to touch every wheel in a specific sequence before I got into the kart. And then I stepped up to cars and had a specific set of fireproof base layers just for race day. So watch the drivers when they're on the grid. Some may be sitting on the floor and isolating, others may be up to other things that they do. But these little things really help their minds get ready for the race.
Okay, final lap. Let's go. Final lap.
It's what they've all been racing towards, waiting for them. High above the pit lane is our podium. And for the lucky three, it's time to stand on it. They give out trophies for the winners. Today, they're Oscars. Your winner today, Oscar Piastri. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.